This is Travis Clavon here from Metro Atlanta Republicans, and I just got to say a few things about all these candidates coming out of the woodwork for Congressional District 6 and 7 here in Georgia. First of all, congratulations for running. We love that people are stepping up and run for Congress. We need good people. We need a lot of good people. We need competitive primaries because that's the only way that we are stronger as a party is by having new voices and have strong competitors come out and try to win the most votes. It's the only way we can do it. But I gotta say, past couple of weeks, we've had like a dozen people coming out and announcing that they're running in District 6 and District 7. And those are very competitive races. Both of those districts have the potential to be marquee races nationwide. So it's very important that we get this right. Now, I just got to say, if you're going to run for Congress, say what the hell you believe. You're putting your money and your time and your own reputation on the line. There's got to be some reason why you are running, and there's got to be something that you believe in. What are you going to do once you're elected? What are you going to do in Congress? Why are you seeking this position? What do you hope to achieve for the American people? What are your principles? What are your platforms? What issues are you going to champion? Do you have any kind of key legislation that you want to put forth? If you're in Congress, who are you going to caucus with? It's kind of a rough place up there. What kind of congressperson are you going to be? Now, I am tired of all of these videos and key messages about biography and not about platform. Biography over platform drives me crazy. No one really cares what you've done. What they care is what you're going to do for this nation. We want to hear, what is your vision to make America a better nation? What's your vision to make America great again? So we got a lot of problems. We have incredible deficit spending. The debt is increasing higher than it's ever been, and it's not slowing down. It's actually speeding up. We've got Republicans up in D.C. who have voted for deficit spending, debt, and not funding President Trump's agenda. I want to know how you're going to vote on those omnibus spending bills. Now, the reason that's important is, hey, as long as the cloture rule stands in the Senate, we're really not going to have any meaningful legislation passed. It's just not going to happen. The cloture rule is going to shut it down and it'll be killed. And now that we have a divided Congress versus the administration, at least for the next 4 years, 6 years, hopefully, we're not going to have any kind of meaningful legislation. It's going to be pretty much gridlock. That means that the only meaningful thing that anyone's going to do in Congress is vote for spending bills. Vote for spending bills. Those omnibus spending packages, that's where everything happens. I want to know how you're going to vote on those omnibus spending bills. If you say you're a fiscal conservative, does that mean that you're going to not vote for deficit spending? And when you're trying to balance priorities across lots of different things, how are you going to rationalize that? How are you going to balance competing principles with limited resources with the government and still balance the budget? How are you going to do it? Let me see some critical thinking skills. Let me see some, how are you going to work with Congress to get your agenda through, but still balance the budget? And so here's another thing, healthcare. I'm an employee benefits consultant. My customers are business owners and consumers. They are suffering from the high cost of health insurance premiums. Most of that is directly related to heavy regulation of the healthcare industry. We don't have enough doctors, but it's also directly related to the mandated coverage under Affordable Care Act. What are you going to do about that? What's your solution? If you have any ideas, let's hear them. Talk about them. Bring them forth, because my gosh, Republicans, we need solutions to healthcare. We can't be just against Obamacare. We have to be for something as well. It's very important. Another thing is, my gosh, what about these endless wars we're fighting? We've been at war with countries all over the world for at least 20 years, probably longer than that, but 20 years is when I've been paying attention to it very closely. None of these wars are declared. And you might say, oh, it's not really a war. It's more like a policing action. Well, if you're a soldier and you're getting shot at and you're exchanging fire with the enemy, that's a war. It might not be a general's war, but it's a private's war. It's a corporal's war. We're fighting these all over. What are you going to do about it? What's your vision? We have 800 U.S. military bases in the interiors of foreign nations. Some of these nations are conquered enemies, like Germany. Now, Germany's our friend now, but at one time, in World War II, they were our enemy. Why do we still have bases there? Why are we, U.S. taxpayers, spending our hard-earned money to fund the defense of socialist governments of conquered nations? And Germany is a perfect example. So what do? They don't have to fund their military. They don't have to fund their own defense because we got that covered. They take their money and invest it into infrastructure and social programs for the benefit of their own citizens. Thank you, U.S. taxpayers. We're funding all that. What's your stance on that? Now, everyone's going to be for the soldiers. Everyone's going to be for supporting the troops. Everyone's going to be for making sure they get the VA benefits that they deserve. Everyone's on board of that. Democrats too. But as Republicans, where do you stand on the global policies which make those benefits necessary? How are you going? What's going to be your voice? Congress is supposed to be the power that declares war. Are you going to stand up for that power invested in you if you're in Congress? How are you going to do that? What's going to be your voice? What's going to be your stance on funding these foreign military bases? And do you have anything to add to the conversation about global geopolitics? What's your stance on China? China might not be our enemy, but they sure are our competitors. And China is trying to expand its presence and its influence through the South China Sea. They're already doing it. Heck, they've declared that's theirs. It's just boom. It's ours. We own it. We're going to build some islands out there and fly some jets over your your boats when you're going through the South China Sea. What's your stance on that? How are you going to influence U.S. interests in the greater Pacific area? Global trade, of course, that's going to be an issue. Trump's pushing that. What's your stance on that? What's your stance on tariffs? If you're for tariffs, are you really a free market person? These are the things that I think should be discussed in congressional races. No one cares about your puppies. Everybody likes puppies. No one cares where you went to school. That's important that you have some credentials. We want to know what you stand for. What are you going to do if you're elected into Congress? What kind of congressperson are you going to be? What is your vision for America? And why should we believe in you? Thank you.